Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 56 of the Anime Banter podcast with your hosts, Turtle, Mike, and me, Sean. Thank you for joining us today. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing pretty well. How about yourselves?
I'm also doing pretty well. Pretty tired though.
Yeah.
It's been a long work week. The weather here has been nice. So we have a shuttle service that'll take us from our building to the parking lot. But it's been nice enough that I'm like, I'll just walk it. Because it's like, it more or less takes me the same amount of time to walk as the shuttle. So it's like, I might as well get some exercise while I'm at it. But between waking up at 4:55 to go to the gym, then a work day, and then walking a mile back to my car, it's just become a long week.
Sure. I get that.
You'll appreciate that shuttle when it's 90 degrees out in the
Oh
summer.
yes. Or when it's like 20 degrees.
Yeah, 20 degrees in the winter. Exactly. It'll be there when you need it.
Exactly.
It's good. Weather has a profound effect on our lives. But as our regular listeners know, sometimes we start off our episodes by chatting about what's going on in life, what's going on in pop culture, things that aren't necessarily related to anime, but sometimes video games, movies, TV shows, books, wrestling, any other random topics. But we thought we would start today's show off with talking about some other anime that we like, because we realize we only give you for example, free run, it takes us 14 weeks to show you one anime. And this one, you'll get 6 episodes of us going through solo leveling. However, if you wonder, like, what do these guys watch in their spare time? When they're not just watching things for the show, I thought we'd, give you a little taste of some of the stuff we're into here. So I don't know who wants to go first. What are you guys watching?
I can go first if you guys don't mind.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Turtle stepping up. It's not anime, but I want to give a quick shout out to Star Wars The Bad Batch. I've been a fan of that since they dropped. It's not anime, but it is animation. So I've been watching that. I think there's a 1 hour series finale coming out real soon, if it's not out already by the time this goes live. So excited for that. I've also been watching X-Men 97. Again, not anime, but animation. Very much enjoying that. But as far as anime goes, besides watching Free Run and Solo Leveling, I am a huge One Piece fan, so I eagerly await each episode every week. I love One Piece. Shangri-La Frontier, I've been a big fan of. It's been a lot of fun to watch that. And just recently, kicking up that time, I got reincarnated as a slime. Season 3 is running. Looks like My Hero Academia is kicking up here again. And Konosuba Season 3 is kicking up. So, yeah, that's what I'm paying attention to.
I have been watching Fallout on Prime. It's amazing. We're 4 episodes in. I just love the look and the feel, how much they nailed that. Because for the most part, video game shows have been really good. We won't talk about the Halo show. But, I mean, you figure Last of Us was fantastic. Witcher Season 1, we won't go. Season 1 was fantastic. Season 2 is fine. Season 3 was not fine. But yeah, Fallout has been fantastic. Definitely recommend that. I have non-gamer friends even asking, like, hey, what Fallout would you recommend I play after watching the show? So watching Fallout. What else am I watching? Delicious in Dungeon. Been watching that weekly on Netflix. I'm surprised that's still going. It felt like there was a very good season 1 stopping point, and then went on Netflix the following Thursday. They're like, oh, hey, by the way, there's a new episode. I'm like, what? I thought this was over for season 1. So that was a very pleasant surprise. And then watching Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2 finally. I've been watching that on the treadmill in the morning at the gym. And I also finally finished the new season of Demon Slayer. I've been trying to watch some anime while I do the treadmill at the gym in the morning.
Heck yeah. For me, I just wrapped up Fallout as well. But I also just wrapped up Twisted Metal on Peacock,
Oh, I
and
forgot that
it
came
is
out.
yeah, yeah, it is far better than it has a right to be. Um,
I should watch
yeah,
that.
no, you really should. I actually wish that I had finished Twisted Metal before I watched Fallout because they're both post-apocalyptic type of worlds. But Twisted Metal's like a little less serious and heavy. But Anthony Mackie and Stephanie Beatriz like put the show on their back and carry it. Like those two are the reason that Twisted Metal works so well. So Twisted Metal's good. Fallout's better than Twisted Metal, but they're both very good. Would recommend also Twisted Metal and Fallout both confirmed for second seasons. So if you're worried about them continuing, don't. Like they're both going. So watch season one. Some other anime I'm going through. Let's see. Uh, I'm going through Yu Yu Hakusho for the first time.
Yeah.
I'm 11 episodes in.
Yes. I
Yep.
love it. Thank you,
Yeah,
son.
definitely 90s.
You will thank me though, because it's really good. You'll love it.
Yeah, it's goofy at times.
It is, but
Just
that's
like
part of the charm. I love it.
that is part of the charm. Yeah. I agree. I'm going through a classic as well. So in the mid 20 teens, I guess, my wife and I started this anime called Monster, and it has a lot of episodes. I think it's maybe like 80 something episodes. And it's a thriller. It's a Japanese doctor in Germany. So it takes place in Germany, but the main character is a Japanese man who transferred there to do research. Um, and then he unfortunately gets accused of murder and goes on the run and has to prove his innocence for 80 episodes. So it's very good, and we're going through it now. And let's see what else I'm going through. I'm dabbling in a few other things. Dabbling in Shangri-La Frontier. Dabbling in. I'm trying to get through Konosuba season 2, but boy, I'm having a hard time. Um, yeah, that pretty much. Oh, and after watching Free Run last season, I kind of started watching it again because it's just that dang enjoyable.
Cannot argue that one.
So yeah, if anyone here was if any listeners were curious, what are they watching outside of it? What they watch every week for the podcast. That's the summary. And if you want us to try to do a banter blitz or something like that on one of those series, give us a shout out on social media or YouTube if you want to hear we could do a full episode on our thoughts on a show. Um, no problem. It could be fun. So let us know in the comments if you want us to review something as a one-off, because we're certainly open to it. We've done it before. Go back and check out our other banter blitzes. We did the Jujutsu Kaisen Zero movie, and we also did the Star Wars. What's that series called, guys? Star Wars
Visions, Volume
Visions. Thank you.
2.
Star Wars Visions Volume 2, where we give a few thoughts on each episode. Oh yeah, and Turtle and I did the One Piece live action too. So yeah, if you just want some one-off reviews, yeah, go through our catalog and you'll find a few one-off Banter Blitz episodes.
Absolutely.
All right, let's get started here on our main event. Today we're talking about episodes 3 and 4 of Solo Leveling. Episode 3, it's like a game. We open with Jinwoo choking on his own blood, saying, "I wish I had another chance." Back in the chamber with the smiling statue god, Jinwoo immediately wakes up in a hospital. Somehow his body is totally put back together. Like that leg that was severed, it's right back on his body. He's healed too. No scratch, no big gaping wound in his shoulder or chest. He's greeted by the Hunters Association surveillance team. Their manager, Jinchul Wu, and other member of the team, Tai Shi Kang. They call the doctor in, and we cue the intro.
That close up of Jinwoo's face was so disturbing to start the episode. Like, it's like, oh, okay, that's a wake up call. Like, Hope you aren't watching this too early in the morning and want some nightmare fuel.
Some pretty brutal stuff.
I thought it was odd that Jin was like, "Was that a dream?" It's like, what? Like, you're in a hospital. How do you think you got to a hospital? But it was just weird that like everything was healed on him. Like, how the hell did that happen?
I mean, that's why I think he thought it was a dream. 'Cause he's like, well, I lost my leg, and now I'm in the hospital, but my leg is here, and it's not like it was stitched back on. There's no scars, no scratches. Maybe I was just dreaming. Maybe I got hurt on an easy E rank gate and ended up here.
The Hunters Association surveillance team members give us a recap of what happened after Jinwoo blacked out. Chi Song lost an arm. He'll be retiring, unfortunately. Juhee carries deep trauma and has sought therapy. Yeah, she may resign too. Only 6 of them survived, and it gets weirder. When the White Tiger Guild arrives on the scene, the only thing they found was Jinwoo. No sign of the temple or the statues at all. It would have been suspicious, but everyone had the exact same story, which means that the story checks out. They also recovered the remains of all those who were killed, and the way that they were killed, it was very obvious they were not killed by these see-through E rank heroes, hunters. I mean, not heroes. Though they feel like heroes at the end of this one. But there's a very important question. They ask Jinwoo if he experienced a second awakening. Jinwoo explains that if a second awakening happens, a hunter can exceed their limits and rise to A or even S rank. He puts his hand on the stone that gauges like their magic power to show their rank. Uh, his magic power hits 10, and his rank is still pretty much E level. So he's the same. In fact, he's even worse than before, pretty much. So the Hunters Association surveillance team members wonder how he survived exactly. As they leave the room, Jinwoo sits and wonders, why did they leave without asking about this screen? As as a uh, as a notification window is hovering above his head. He tries to touch it and has a flashback to when he accepted it. The door to Jinwoo's room opens, and his sister Jina has come to visit.
Question one. Well, I guess the only question from this scene. How did the dungeon just disappear?
Uh, Magic?
Yeah, gotta be magic.
I guess it was a double dungeon, so it could have different roles.
Different rules, yeah.
Who knows what happens in a double dungeon, man?
The art for when Jinwoo was talking about the second awakening was really cool looking. Really enjoyed that. And then I love how Jinwoo's like, all right, what power am I now? Like an A rank, a B rank? And they're like, power is 10. It's like, oh, poor Jinwoo. Like, I sort of laughed, and then I sort of felt bad because, like, his power actually decreased because we learned that the rank of E has at least a power of 70.
Oh, I forgot that. Yeah, so he's even weaker.
Our poor
It's
boy is
like,
at 10.
they're like, oh, that's like barely a civilian.
I felt pretty bad for him, but it was at this moment that I realized that our boy Jin Woo was isekai'd into his own world as himself. So think about that.
I mean, the show really did scream isekai, though.
It does.
It's like, how are we gonna find a way to isekai him into his own world? Let's just kill him and have him, come back in the same world.
Yeah, as himself. He's not even somebody else. He is the same.
Listen, we have to find a way to shoehorn video game mechanics into this somehow. You know what I mean? Like, we have to make a guy have video game mechanics, or else the viewers won't watch it.
I'm not going to argue it. I'm just pointing it out.
No, that's what the author was thinking. We gotta give him video game mechanics. People won't like this if they don't have video game mechanics.
Let's have him isekai. Yeah, let's have him die and be reincarnated as himself in his own world. Perfect. Has that been done before?
Good question. Yes, people have been isekai'd into their own world, I'm pretty sure.
Okay. I was
I
going to
don't
give the show
know.
a first, but I guess not.
I can't name a show off the top of my head. Yeah, if anyone listening knows, could you post in the comments or on social media somewhere
Yeah, let
and
us
let us
know.
know?
I'm very curious to see if it happened before this. So this potentially could be a first. I died and was reincarnated as myself in my own world.
Gina threatens to quit school so Junwoo doesn't have to go back to work because he keeps ending up in the hospital. Junwoo asks if she can see the big screen. Gina is thoroughly bamboozled. He asks her for advice on how to open message if a video game sends you one, since she's a gamer and he's not apparently. He opens his inbox at her suggestion. Gina says he seems to be doing okay and leaves. Her brother woke up in the hospital and is hallucinating that a screen is floating in midair in front of him, and she thinks he's doing well? I'm not so sure.
I mean, hey, concussion-like symptoms. It's fine.
It'll be all right.
I love how nonchalant Jinwoo was about the screen. It's like, oh, okay, no one else can see it. Whatever.
Yeah, this was the part when I got to this watching. This was the part that I really started to enjoy the show, bringing the video game mechanics in. I know Sean, you mentioned it earlier, and it's kind of silly, but this is the part that got me.
It's all in good fun.
Yeah, like the first two episodes aren't bad, but they're like too gory, human massacre for me. But this is where it starts to round that corner for me, and I got interested. I'm like, all right, here we go. Here comes the video game mechanics. Let's see where this goes.
I was also a little surprised that Jinwoo wasn't a gamer growing up. Like, I know a lot of people, like, it's like as an adult or as they get older, they're like, oh, yeah, I don't play games anymore. But, like, I feel like most people have played, like, most people our age and younger have at least played a game when they were younger.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, my brother, for example, like, he used to play games a lot when we were kids. And then, like, sort of got out of it. And then, like, during the pandemic, he started playing games of again more frequently, not nearly as much as like the three of us, but like he's starting to game again.
Nice. Welcome back. Yeah, I mean, we've reached the age I think where a lot of the early video gamers have had kids and introduced their kids to it. So now it's sort of like a mainstream common thing where even like when we were growing up, not everybody was into gaming.
And even gaming adjacency is there. I know a lot of people who they don't watch a single minute of like TV. Like I'll be like, "Hey, you watch Fallout?" And they'd be like, "No." You watch, Star Wars, like any Star Wars or Marvel or anything? They're like, "No." Like, what do you watch? And they're like, "Oh, YouTube or Twitch." I just watch people game. Like all they do is they play video games and they watch video games. And I'm like, dang, man, media has evolved so far that like video games are so ingrained in our culture. Some people, it's the only media they consume, either watching someone else play it or them playing it themselves. And I'm like, dang, like video games are here to stay, which is why these types of shows really resonate, especially with teenagers, because it's a very easy to understand system. Gina exits the room. Her friend Song Yi was waiting outside. I think she's going to be more important later in the series since we've seen her a few times already. Back in his room, though, Jinwoo has a few notifications on that notification screen. Here's some bullet points, right? The system is designed to assist the development of the player. Failure to comply with the system may result in a penalty. Penalty in nice red letters there. The rewards have been delivered. He has no clue what that means. Daily quest has arrived. Jinwoo says, confirm to that one. And we're shown his daily quests. 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, 100 squats, 10 kilometers of running. This is eerily close to the One Punch Man workout. Anyone know what I'm talking about?
That's a fantastic call out. I didn't think of it the first time, like when I watched the episode, but you calling it out is, I'm pretty sure that's like his workout. It's just missing the no air conditioning.
Yeah, I think One Punch Man doesn't. I don't think he does squats. I think it's just 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, and 10 kilometers.
But yeah, I also did not pick up on that. So good call.
Yeah, but that's how you get as strong as One Punch Man, and Jinwoo may be on the way here. There's additional text. Failure to complete the daily quest will result in an appropriate penalty. Penalty in nice red letters again, warning us Something bad will happen if Jinwoo does not do this. But of course, Jinwoo laughs it off as a bad joke as we end the scene.
Don't do that, guy. Don't do that.
When it's like, oh, there will be an appropriate penalty. It's like, I'm thinking, like, what is the penalty for not doing your strength training? Like, what is the appropriate penalty for that?
Well, we're going to find out. The Hunters Association surveillance team members are speaking with the chairman. They summarize the info for him and say this is an unprecedented case. They're marking it as a special case and they're going to evaluate later. We cut away again to a man with red hair and glasses. He's speaking with a woman named Miss Cha. He wants her to be an instructor in the next raid. They're top 5 guild in the country, but they're not big on an international scale, and they're preparing for the worst. We don't get any more on these characters at all. And then we cut away again, and a portal is just opened in the middle of the street. So I feel like there's been a lot of jumping here.
Is it normal for a dungeon portal to just open randomly on a highway like this?
I thought it was kind of funny. It opens up and everyone's like, "Oh!" And they put up like the police show up and they put up the barriers like, "Please steer clear of the glowing portal of death. Just continue down the way. Ignore this."
One thing I think is interesting is they could drop a nuke in one of these portals, but because it's not made of that essence, they can't kill anything with it, right? Everyone's immune to the nuke, right? No, maybe not.
I don't know. I don't remember them mentioning anything about that.
Yeah, they say that the only way to kill them is to be one of those people born with magic powers, right? So I'm just
Oh,
like, yeah, so like if you go in with guns, they just I guess bounce off the world's weakest monsters. But if you have magic powers, hey, so like dropping a nuke inside one of those things wouldn't kill a dang thing because they don't have magic video game like powers.
I got you. Yeah, I honestly missed that entirely.
Same.
I'd be that guy who rolls into the dungeon and been like, "What's your magic power?" "Oh, I don't have any. I just carry this crate full of dynamite with me."
I just make shit go boom.
Yeah, I'm
I
just
like it.
just setting the bombs. But I guess dynamite isn't strong enough to be that should be the real S class. Anyway, though, we're gonna go back to Jinwoo in his hospital bed. See on the screen that he has failed his mission for the day. He feels the earth shaking. He falls out of bed, and when he gets up, he is in a place with a red sky and mountains in the background. He's greeted by a poison-toothed giant desert centipede. It looks mean. His new goal? Survive for 4 hours. Let the chase begin.
Yikes.
This is one hell of a penalty. Like, it's like, okay, you didn't do your strength training. So now a giant fucking bug is going to chase you for 4 hours. And don't let it bite you because it's poisonous.
And I gotta call out too, like he gets the timer, like you have until this long to complete your It was already half gone. Like they didn't even give him a full day.
Well, I should have started right then and there.
I guess so, but like he just woke up in the hospital. Like at least give him 24 hours to figure out what the heck's going on. This poor guy.
I also think that 4 hours is kind of like too long. Like, when I saw the centipede, I'm like, that thing should have killed him after 4 minutes. 4 minutes would have made more sense.
Right?
I mean, I guess it's one way to enforce the strength training. It's like, oh, well, you didn't run your 10 kilometers, so here's a death monster to chase you. Run for 50 kilometers now.
I guess so. I feel like he should have been dead, but that's just nitpicking. We watch him run while the nurses are confused by his absence. After 4 hours, he does end up back in his room, completely exhausted and somehow not dead. He gets a green check mark for completing his quest. The screen says there's a reward, but he passes out and misses out on that reward. In the morning, he wakes up and goes to meet up with his sister.
I almost wonder if time moved differently in that area he was getting chased compared to the real world, because like the nurses were like freaking out. They're like, where is he, and it's like, was he gone? Like, does time move one for one, or is it like, okay, he's being chased for 4 hours but it's sped up and it's really like 1 hour?
That's a real good question. Because I don't think they say anything about that. Like, what if 4 hours in the penalty world was just like 4 minutes in the real world? It was long enough for the nurses to see that he was out of bed, check the hospital, and when they come back, he's magically on the floor. Very good question, Mike.
But I feel like they didn't notice he was gone until about 2 hours into his penalty.
That's true.
That could be. Those nurses were slacking.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think it probably was the same time, but they did a poor, yeah, not a fantastic job of illustrating that. But it's not important either way, because it's important is that he's back.
Shout out to real nurses everywhere. That was a joke. I know you do. You yeah, men and women who are nurses don't slack. You work very hard. Thank you for what you do.
We now go to a scene where Juhi is being called into an emergency situation. The guilds can't get to the D rank portal that opened in the street. She's also informed that Jinwoo lives. She's off to bring him flowers at the hospital. She's going to his room, but sees him running laps outside.
Juhi going back into a dungeon is going to go very poorly, isn't it?
Yeah, she's not ready.
I would not feel ready.
Yeah, I'd probably consider retirement.
I would retire. Definite answer. Like, nope, I am done. I lived through that. It's not going to happen again.
The money, though, it's so good.
Fair.
It's not a little bit of money, it's a shitload of money.
I'd still retire.
Jinwoo takes a seat on a bench and takes a look at his screens. It's been 4 days. He's figured out a few things. When he completes a daily quest, he gets 3 rewards: full recovery, ability points, and a random loot box. He also has skill and inventory screens that they don't necessarily show us yet. He goes back into his room and activates the loot box reward. What will it be today? It's a key. It creates an instance dungeon. I guess he'll have to give it a try.
Really love the explanation of the reward system because it had been so easy to just like pass over, but this show has been doing a great job explaining everything to us, the viewers.
Yeah, I agree. They definitely do a starting with this episode. It all starts to break down everything for us, and they do a great job with the rewards, the penalties. They explain everything how it works, and I just think it's I don't know. I mean, as a gamer, everything just made simple sense to me. Like this was not anything fantastical or crazy or hard to understand. It's just it's real simple, makes sense. I'd be interested to hear from like a non-gamer's perspective if you just watch anime. Like were you able to adjust to this easily or was it weird for you? I don't know. To me it just seemed really simple, but then again, like I've been playing games since I was a kid, so
Also, when Jinwoo was talking about how he's leveled up a couple times, this dude is totally going to min max his stats, isn't he?
All the best video game characters do.
I mean, it's the way to do it.
If you're watching Bofuri, I can't remember the subtext on something, but it's like I'll max out my defense or something like that. Like she only put her stats in defense, and like she's a walking tank. And then Shangri-La Frontier that Turtle mentioned earlier, dude just made himself a glass cannon where like everything's in agility.
and he
There's like
relies
no
on
point to
crits.
anything else. Yeah, not zero in vitality. Like it's hit one time, he's pretty much dead. But he never gets hit because he's too good at gaming.
Yeah, I want to say he has like a max of like 15 or 16 HP. Like he's not even in the 20s.
Yeah. So yeah, like I said all the best characters min max. I do it too when I play like Dungeons and Dragons and RPGs like that. I have a tendency to min max just a little bit, not to an egregious level, but I do just a little bit.
Two things I do wonder about. Will we ever see Jinwoo opening a random loot box in front of someone? And they're gonna be like, "What the hell is that?" Or will they not be able to see it just like the screens? And then the other thing I wonder about is, had everyone stayed through all 3 tests, would they have all received the system?
Also, a very good question.
That that is definitely the most important question here, Mike. I think that I think that it would be really interesting if like 6 of them had the system. I mean, that'd be absolutely insane. They could go into like these instance dungeons potentially, like with each. I wonder if they could go in with each other if they had the system, or if they'd only be able to go into the ones that are theirs. Might be only be able to go in the ones that are theirs. But even so, you could have, imagine what this guy will be able to do eventually, because we imagine with the level up system, he'll reach S rank probably. If you had 6 people who could level up like that, that'd be insane.
Oh my goodness. I can only imagine like how the show would turn out if that was the case.
But it didn't turn out that way because there may only be one, or there can only be one. I don't know, Highlander.
There can only be one, the Highlander.
I haven't even seen the movie. I just know that there can only be one.
I have seen the original movie. I have not seen the sequels or spin-off shows that are to varying degrees of bad. I've only seen the first one.
I think I tried watching the first one and got like really bored. Uh,
It's kind of weird.
yeah, it's not the best movie I've ever seen, but I do like that there can only be one and yelling that.
It's something empowering about it. I don't know.
Good meme, yeah. We're taken to the gate in the middle of the street. We're shown on the big screens in the city. There is today's gate report showing us the location of the new gates.
I laugh because the Daily Gate report might as well just be the weather on the news. It's like, here's John Smith with the weather. Oh, thanks, Carol. Today's weather is sunny and a C gate that don't go by it or you will die, and an S gate and you will really die if you go by that gate.
It really did feel like that, like stay tuned after the commercial break. Weather, sports, and portals, like gates. Too funny.
Watch out if you're in this area. There are monsters roaming the streets.
We go back to Jinwoo. He's sitting with his mom at the hospital. We're treated to a flashback that gives us an explanation for the disease that plagues her. It's called eternal sleep disease or final rest, that's a bit too much for me.
Yeah, it's a very dark and dramatic name.
Yeah, eternal sleep disease is a little better than final rest.
Fun. Throw on the heavy metal band logo on it. The font.
That font that you
That
can't read, it's not legible.
You can barely read what the fuck it says.
Yeah. That's how you know, that's how metal a band is can you read their font? The less legible it is, the more metal they are. So that's, you can kind of find where you want to stand in that, in the metal world. How illegible are the band logos? If you can read it, it's not as metal. So you can kind of judge where you want to be.
I'm pulling up Spotify right now to see is there a band named Final Rest?
I've not heard of one, but I definitely do not know every band in existence. So that would be funny if there was.
I don't see one on Spotify. It doesn't mean there isn't one. There could be like an indie band out there is not on Spotify.
Say if you are in a metal band named Final Rest, hit us up.
Yeah. Speaking of Spotify, if you're listening on YouTube, I don't know if you knew, but we're actually also on Spotify. So make sure, if YouTube doesn't work for you and you don't like the ads, and you have a Spotify premium or whatever, feel free to give us a listen over there. We are multi-platform.
And that concludes our self-promotion.
Yeah, let's move on. When the gates appeared, so did this disease. It affects 1 in every 10,000 people or so. They theorize that overexposure to mana can make it happen. We have a scene where Jinwoo is working construction, and then he drops what he's carrying and has a realization. He has magic powers. He becomes a hunter, gets his butt kicked, gets ridiculed by his colleagues. He resolves to put his points into strength, and then crushes an apple with his bare hands.
Yeah.
How strong do you have to be to crush an apple like that? It wasn't just like, oh, he sort of like smushed it and all the juices ran out. Like, he smashed it so good that the pieces just exploded everywhere.
I mean, don't tell me that neither of you have ever tried to crush something after watching like Dragon Ball Z as a kid. You're like, yeah, and then it didn't work. And you're like, oh, reality check.
I haven't, but have you ever tried to move things with your mind?
Oh yeah,
I definitely did as a kid, and maybe a couple times as an adult.
I still try once a week just to see. You never know. Something could happen.
You can't reach your phone or the remote. You're like, come on.
Come on, force. Bring that to me. Nope, I got to get up.
Yeah, we should. That should be content for our YouTube channel. We just try and crush an apple like Jinwoo.
We'll get together and film it and see what happens.
Yeah, if it sounds like a waste of an apple, though, I can't crush one.
Yeah, I couldn't crush one. I'd end up eating it.
I'd just make my hands messy, probably. Like, ooh, why did I do this?
Exactly. If you guys want to see that, let us know in the comments.
Yeah. I know we're doing a lot of let us know in the comments stuff, but I don't know. I think it's fun.
We're trying to get you guys to interact with us, please.
Jinwoo stands at the entrance to a subway station. He holds up his new key and a lock appears. He inserts the key and twists. A portal appears, completely covering the entrance to the subway station. He walks inside. He's entered an instance dungeon. The exit closes off. As he's walking in, he sees a person walk by him and walk out of the exit. Only he is stuck there. And he can't interact with that person. So he's clearly like he's in the same space, but it's like a pocket dimension in the same space almost. He's alerted to the fact that you can only leave with a teleportation stone that he doesn't have. He walks down the stairs with his trusty, may as well be plastic dagger.
When this scene started playing out, I'm like, oh, I wonder what the general public sees when Jinwoo enters or exits a dungeon. And then they answered it within like 30 seconds, like, oh, okay, they just act like nothing's happening.
He reaches the bottom of the stairs and is immediately greeted by 3 goblins. The Goblin of Christmas Past, the Goblin Christmas Present, and the Goblin Christmas Future. Wrong piece of media. Sorry. Considering he couldn't even kill one before, we wonder if the strength boosts are really going to be enough to get the job done. This fight scene, though, is pretty solid. Jinwoo's good at dodging. He actually kind of always was. We saw that when he's fighting one of the goblins before. And through dodging and striking with his dagger, he manages to kill 3 of them, which is crazy. And he really notices he is stronger than before. But as he has that thought, a steel-fanged lichen busts through the wall and breaks Jinwoo's dagger. He's paralyzed with fear and just barely dodges an attack. The wolf howls and lunges, and we roll the ending credits.
I really love the enemy names above each enemy that Jinwoo sees. Like, it's like, oh, okay. It makes it easy for the viewer to know exactly what Jinwoo is fighting against. And then it was really cool to see how far Jinwoo has progressed in such a short time, with the fact that he was able to kill those 3 goblins more or less with ease.
Yeah, I agree. I thought this was a pretty good fight scene. And my complaint with this show is the cliffhangers that they end episodes on. Oof. Please stop doing that.
It's how they get you to come back for more.
I know, but it kills me. They break it like right in the middle of something, like, and the episode's over. Tune in next week. I don't want to wait.
That concludes episode 3. And we're going to take a little break here. Like I said, I'm still not used to narration so much for these episodes, as our host last time was Turtle. And I'm parched. So let's head off to our next segment. Take it away, Mike.
You know what they say, alcohol is the best medicine. And that means it's time for Mike's Beer of the Week. This week we're going back to Ellicottville, and it's their St. Jacob's Oak Aged Stout. A stout aged in bourbon barrels for 6+ months. I was a huge fan of this beer. I usually love bourbon aged beer, so no surprise that I really loved it. This was a celebration beer in the fact that it was in celebration of me finishing top 4 in a Disney Lorcana Store Championship event, where I got to secure my awesome looking Enchanted Stitch Rockstar promo, where the only way to get this promo is to finish top 4 at a store championship. There were 28 players. Originally, it was supposed to be 32, but 4 people dropped last minute. I snuck in as the 8 seed and upset the 1 seed in the top 8 round of the top 8 after dropping game 1, and then came back to win 2-1 the series. So that locked up top 4, which I was thrilled about after a long day. It's 5 rounds of Swiss and then 2 rounds of Top Cut before I was eliminated. So it was like a 7-8 hour tournament, and I was just cooked by the end of it. But very excited by my finish. Very excited by getting this promo. Definitely check out the art for this promo because it's super cool looking. The untapped average rating for this beer is a 3.82, and I give it a 4.25.
Episode 4. I've got to get stronger. We dive right back to where we left off. Jinwoo's fighting the Lycan. After a lot of dodging, he decides to use his new strength stat and bare knuckle box the wolf. How's he supposed to win? Cue the opening credits.
Sean, have you never watched The Grey with Liam Neeson?
I've not.
He straight up fights an alpha wolf.
Bare hands?
Bare hands.
Damn.
Movie's fantastic.
Now kind of want to see it.
Me too.
I highly recommend it. And there's a pretty awesome after credit scene.
He starts running towards his backpack that got ripped off earlier against the goblins, but he gets stopped. He remembers that he has an inventory on his notification screens and pulls out Mr. Kim's sword. Yeah, that's the sword that he had in his hands whenever he got killed. Well, or almost killed. Mr. Kim said he paid $3 million for it. Well, I don't know if is it dollars? He paid $3 million. $3 million unspecified currency for it. And somehow, Jinwoo has it. He's not mad about it, and he's able to kill the Steel Fang Lycan. 2 more Lycans appear, and he's able to cut through another. The 3rd Lycan runs, and he leveled up to level 2. When he levels up through combat, all of his stats increase by 1, and he can feel the difference. It really is video game logic.
I want to know how the sword got in his inventory. Like, did Mr. Kim have the system? Was it, like, gifted whenever he was awarded the system? Like, how did it get there?
It's a good question, because I thought, did he have it on him whenever the counter hit 0 in the first dungeon? You know what I mean? Like, when he got the system, was he holding that sword?
I want to say yes, he was.
I'd have to go back and watch it.
Yeah, I was going to say, I can't remember. But if he was, then it's like, okay, that makes sense.
It just shifted to his inventory. I think he had it.
Because I remember him trying to, like, remember he was, like, blocking the statue somehow. Like, you know, we made a comment how about he held up a sword, like he was trying to fight the statues. So I think it's how he ended up with the sword. So he's got to thank Mr. Kim for that one.
When he was looking at his stats, I got a laugh out of job none.
I didn't see that.
Is this real world job or like dungeon job? Like a video game job?
He's a freeloader.
And then, as a video game player, I really enjoyed how Jinwoo was trying to work his way through the logic of skill points and how much of a percent gain 1 point provides. It's like, okay, well, what's the max, and how much does, like, I got 1 point of strength, like, how much more stronger does that make me? And that. It's like, it's just like, oh yeah, I dig this.
Absolutely. I found that really interesting because, I mean, as a gamer, again, like, I don't really think about that as much. But like putting it in a real world perspective, like, okay, I personally gain a level, my stats increase. How much does that actually affect me? What is 1 point worth? So I thought that was really cool that they, mentioned that and they have him think about that because I never thought about that, just playing a game. But like if you put it into real life, how much would 1 point of strength actually affect you as a person? I'm like, that's a cool concept. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, at the same time, though, if he wasn't a gamer, and he doesn't seem like particularly like overly intelligent, you know what I mean? Like just, maybe slightly above average intelligent guy. Like for him to think about that, I'm like, I don't know if I'm buying it that he is kind of with it to think that way, especially if he doesn't do games and doesn't seem to particularly excel at school. But maybe smarter than we think. Jinwoo loots the bodies for random supplies that he can sell at the shop on his screens. He can't buy anything there yet until he levels up more. For the wolf fangs, he gets 20 gold. Not bad, I think. Time to pick up his sword and level grind. The steel fang lichen reappears with an entire pack of them. He kills every single one of them and is rewarded with a number of level ups, plus the title Wolf Assassin.
Jinwoo knows you have to be over leveled to fight the boss.
Begin the grind.
Takes a look and his blade's durability is pretty low. But that new title, the Wolf Assassin title, gives him abilities plus 40% against all animal type monsters. He also looted 34 wolf fangs, 2 worn daggers, a traveler's cloak, and a shiny new teleportation stone. He sits and considers using the teleportation stone, but decides to move forward in the dungeon, as there really is a chance here to gain good experience.
Keep on grinding, Jinwoo. It is interesting to note that the lightning we saw around the portal was also around Jinwoo's hand as he walked deeper into the dungeon.
We cut away though. We've been focusing on Jinwoo so much, we almost forgot there's some other characters here. We're taking to Juhee, who's informed that there's a dungeon break at that gate out in the street, which is odd to me because I thought that most of those dungeons took like 7 days or so for there to be a break. So I'm kind of surprised there is one. There's a healer shortage currently, so she agrees to go.
I have a bad feeling about this.
Jinwoo's been busy during this other scene. We get the montage here. He's shown killing various magical creatures, including a razor-clawed Briga, aka Monkey, and Black Shadow Raisin, aka Panther. It's realized that the names above enemy heads change colors with difficulty level. White signifies that it's a lower level than you, orange is around the same level, and red is way above your level. The lichens were red when he saw them at first, and now they're white. He looks down a set of stairs and knows there's something strong down there due to his perception stat. He's now level 15 with 24 points in each stat, except strength where he's at 45 points. He's nervous to go down because his sword may break soon, but he decides to go anyway.
I was a little surprised that the lichens were red text right off the bat. I thought they may have been orange to ease them into the dungeon a bit. So I mean, like most video games, it's like, okay, welcome to this area. We're not gonna make you fight the strongest enemies right off the bat. Like, we're gonna give you either enemies that are equal to your level or slightly below your level, so you can like level up a little bit. Not, oh, you're level 1, here, fight this level 5 guy.
Yeah, but at the same time, they also kind of use that to kind of advance Jinwoo a little bit faster so we can move on.
That's true.
So I also kind of appreciated that aspect. But again, I do love the colored names to easily see that the white names are easy, the yellow names are about on or orange are about on par where he is, and the red ones are holy crap, you're in for a tough time.
Yeah, if he didn't have that $3 million sword in his inventory, does he even get past the second enemy?
No.
Like,
No way in
and,
hell.
and that's why I kind of agree with you, Mike, that, if the goblins start on orange, the lichens also probably should have been orange. Don't these people know how to put a good progression into video games?
They're just trying to go straight Dark Souls right off the get-go.
That's what I was thinking, man. It's time. It's a Souls game.
I do wonder if Jinwoo is high enough yet to buy from the shop, or if he has to like complete this dungeon before that happens. Like the shop is not only locked behind a level, but also like story progression.
He doesn't mention it again.
Good question though.
And then this may have just been a goof in animation, but it was interesting to note that his title was back to none after acquiring the Wolf Assassin title.
I did not catch that.
I didn't catch that either. Well, Jibu goes to walk down that staircase. He hits the bottom. It's an empty subway station. Like down on the tracks where the subway would show up, with water where the tracks are, and the walls have plants growing on them, almost as if it was abandoned or ruin like. Jinwoo is jumped by an orange text King of the Swamp Blue Venom Fanged Kasaka, aka Sneck, that promptly breaks his sword. The fight begins.
I love how Jinwoo was hoping the color would be white. It's like, dude, you probably have to level up another 15 times for this dungeon boss to be white.
Yeah, I kind of chuckled at that. Like, dude, it's a boss. He even said it was a boss. He knew the boss was down there. So, like, it's not going to be white.
Jinwoo notices that the Kasaka's scales are super hard. The Kasaka attacks and he kind of dodges to the side, and as it's moving, he runs that broken sword blade against the armor, and it doesn't leave a scratch. The Kasaka's tail slams Jinwoo. He goes flying into the water. The Kasaka attacks in the water. Jinwoo is able to dodge out of the water, only to get slapped again by the tail of the Kasaka. He gets up only to be greeted by a flying subway train that he only narrowly dodges. He gives himself a quick pep talk, and we're back in action.
All those gains in strength, and what was it good for?
This poor dude's getting bounced around like one of them rubber balls you get out of a vending machine.
Should have done more lifting.
I really love when Jinwoo gets all pissed off. His inner monologue gets angrier and like a harsher sound to it instead of just like his normal voice. Like I really enjoyed that. It's like because I know like if I keep getting stuck in a video game and like it's this like I keep dying at the same part, I'm like, oh fuck, die. Like why can't I just beat you?
Sometimes you got to take a break and back up and grind a little bit for a few more levels.
But sometimes
Yeah,
you can't back up if it's in a boss fight.
That's
You're just
also true.
you're stuck at that cutscene, and hopefully it's a skippable cutscene.
Time to rage quit the game.
at least he doesn't do what I do. I have, he never threw the controller. Let's just leave it at that.
Don't do that. It's not worth the money of having to buy a new controller.
Yeah, I threw my Game Boy Advance,
Ooh,
but the thing is, they were made like bricks, and it survived.
that is true, but yeah, that's dangerous.
Yeah, I've thrown a Guitar Hero guitar. I've in my hands almost twisted a controller to the point of breaking it. I've thrown my Game Boy Advance more than once. Like on the floor as hard as I can, spiked it like a football. Yeah, the point is, teenage and early 20s, Sean may have had some anger issues at times, and still does.
I've never thrown a controller because I learned that lesson a very long time ago. Quick story, as a young boy, uh, I had the original gray brick Game Boy. And I broke that over my head. When I got mad, I'd headbutt it. And I headbutt it one too many times, and colors started leaking under the screen, and I broke my Game Boy. So I learned very young not to throw consoles or controllers around.
Yeah, I knew someone who threw a controller on the ground really hard and it bounced up and it cracked their window.
Oh, no.
Because they can really bounce if you hit the right angle. You know what I
Absolutely.
mean? So like it's like I think it was Xbox 360 controller, and it just like bounced right up and cracked the window.
Oh, no.
Yeah, their parents weren't too happy.
Absolutely not. I understand. That's an expensive mistake.
I also had a friend take a PlayStation 2 disc out of their PlayStation 2 and just crack the disc in half in anger. Man, I love some good angry video game stories, man. You go on YouTube and look up like angry gamer clips and stuff like that. You'll see people like whipping their controller at their TV and breaking it. Too good. I go on like this forever. It just cracks me up. Aha, back to the show. Jinwoo has a flashback where he's talking to Chiyo's song. He reflects on being the weakest hunter in all mankind. Chiyo's song responds by saying, "They're adults, but act like childish jerks." He encourages Jinwoo to work hard and prove them all wrong. Jinwoo gets thrown around some more by the Kasaka. Jinwoo has an internal monologue about how the weak always lose, and the only thing that matters is strength. His motivation has once again been renewed, but he's still thrown around a little more. And then he remembers again the terror he felt against the god statue, and how this is nothing in comparison. He gets tossed into the air, but he grabs onto the side of the Kasuka, and he rides it like a mount almost. With his bare hands, he rips off its scales and grabs it and gives it this one heck of a bear hug as hard as he can. He squeezes the Kasuka so hard that he's able to rip through with just his arms. Victory!
I know Jinwoo is pissed, but how the hell is he going Super Saiyan with that blue aura around him and his eyes were like being a light blue?
I think that's called raw determination.
I was gonna say, it's kind of out of place. He doesn't have an ability that can make his eyes turn blue and glow like that.
They sort of like explained it in a later scene that like it was from his perception value, but it's like, okay,
Ah,
well, it's not like it was a temporary boost to perception. Like his perception's always 20, so like why is like it's either should always be like that or never be like that. So that was just weird.
He perceived victory and then grasped it with his bare hands.
And watching Jinwoo use his arms to kill the Kazuka was pretty awesome. Like that was such a cool looking kill animation.
yeah, I agree. I think that it was kind of fun way they animated it, and it was also a really fun way they decided to have him achieve victory. Because putting all those points in strength, he's just able to just bare hand, like he was punching the Lycan before. Well, now he just punched this boss to death pretty much. So I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah, I really liked this boss fight. Thought it was great all the way around.
In the aftermath, Jinwoo levels up multiple times and gets a new item called Kasuka's Venom Fang. It's a C rank acquisition difficulty dagger. It adds plus 25 attack, causes paralysis, and it has a drain effect that's listed as HP minus 1% per 1 second. For scale, it's twice the attack power of Mr. Kim's sword. So this thing, if it's twice the power, you might assume it's twice the value. There's a possibility if he somehow sold this thing, maybe he gets 6 mil for it, right? He got another item named Kasuka's Venom Gland, A rank acquisition difficulty with category Poison. Its abilities include Kasuka's Armor Scales, that gives physical damage minus 20%, and Damaged Muscle, which gives strength minus 35%. Jinwoo says it's too scary to use, but he hangs on to it anyway. Gets a notification that the dungeon boss has been defeated. He finds himself by himself on the subway platform in the real world.
Really love the look of that new dagger. And I also don't blame him for not using that potion yet. I know in RPGs, me personally, I always stash my potions till the very end because it's like, oh, I might need this at some point. And it's like, oh, I need this potion at some point. Oh well, it's fine. I'm gonna stash these potions for later. And then you end the game with like 1,000 potions.
I also have a very bad habit of not using items ever because I think I'm going to need them. And then I beat the game and I'm like, oh, I guess I could have used that at some point.
It's like I really could use this potion. Oh, I have a potion in my inventory. I'm gonna save it though.
I don't want to waste it.
You remember one of the Final Fantasy games? I was in the final boss, and I was like, man, I need like all my MP and HP back. What do I do? And they give you the item called Elixir, right? Well, you can't buy elixirs. You just get them from treasure chests and things like that. And there's a limited number in the game, right? So I'm like in the final battle, and I'm like, oh, I can't use an elixir. You only get so many of those. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm in the final battle, so I'm just like popping elixirs like candy. And I'm like, but it felt wrong. Like when I was doing it, I was like, this doesn't feel right. Like you shouldn't be allowed to do this.
What's even better is in like Skyrim, when it's like you're in the middle of a fight and you're like, hold on, let me pause, and I need a shitload of a bunch of cheese wheels to heal.
I'm gonna eat all this food it's in my inventory.
I love video game logic. He walks out of the station where he's greeted by a soldier. The soldier notices Jinwoo's sword and says, "Oh, you're a hunter. Let's take you to where the dungeon break has occurred." The hunters have defeated most of the magic beasts, but the boss remains. It's a large golem with blue crystals. It would have murdered everyone if there wasn't one unbelievably competent tank, holding it all together. Sadly, they're short on mages, and its physical defense was through the roof. Juhi goes to use magic, but wavers whenever she thinks about the god statue. Jinwoo decides he needs to help. He realizes how hard a time the hunters are having, and against the golem's strong barrier. If it's breached, the hunters will win easily. So it's time for Jinwoo to take action. He takes a step back, and then he takes one step forward, and he just launches Mr. Kim's broken sword directly at the golem's forehead. The barrier crashes immediately, and the hunters clean house. The tank noticed that someone broke that barrier. He finds the broken sword on the ground and realizes that was what broke the barrier. He asks the soldier who that sword belongs to. The soldier says it was that straggler hunter over there. Of course, Jinwoo has already started walking away, and they can't find him. Juhee asks out loud to herself, Jinwoo, was that you? As we fade to credits.
I absolutely understand Juhee not being able to focus on her magic right now and having flashbacks to the double dungeon. Like, something that traumatic is going to take a long ass time to get over, if ever.
Absolutely. But I loved Jinwoo stepping up and chucking this broken sword, and we're starting to see a glimpse of his power shifting into the absurd as one little sword toss it just totally breaks this barrier and allows everybody else to clean up. I was pumping my fist. I'm like, yeah, here he goes.
As for Jinwoo walking away from the fight, cool guys don't look back at explosions.
That's very true.
Accurate.
Very true.
Yeah, that's episodes 3 and 4. What do you guys think about these episodes? Any closing thoughts here?
You want to start, Turtle, or do you want me to start?
I can start. I don't think I'll be very long here. I really like these two. These were the two that kind of got me into watching more of the show. I really like the video game logic. I think it's done really well, and it's easy to follow along with. And as I mentioned just a minute ago, I really like seeing Jinwoo beginning to become OP as he just drops this monster in like one shot, basically.
I thought episode 3 started a little slow, like whenever Jinwoo was stuck in the hospital, but it really picked up once we started getting into the system stuff. I really enjoyed episode 4. I thought it was much better paced. I really enjoyed all the video game feel to it. One of the reasons why I love Free Rent so much was like it was easy to have not a throwaway episode, but like an explanation episode because we knew we were getting 24, 25 episodes, or no, 28 episodes. Where with solo leveling, it's like I appreciate the explanation, but we only get 12 episodes. So it's like we're now a third of the way through the season. It's like it feels like we barely even scratched the surface.
Yeah, that I kind of agree with you on that one, Mike. Whenever you know you're getting, and that's what I kind of miss about when you watch like really old anime, or like 90s and early 2000s. A lot of cases, like a season of anime was a lot of cases like somewhere between like 22 and 26 episodes. So you felt like you could have like a filler episode or a throwaway or comedy episode, or an explanation episode. But when you only have 12 episodes, like every minute feels precious. Um, like I'm glad they explained it, but you can tell by the pace that they're going that by the end of 12 episodes, there's no way that we're going to wrap up a full plot and we're going to be sitting and waiting for a season 2. And now, it is time for the waifu of the week. Turtle, who is your waifu of the week and why?
My waifu this week is Jinwoo. I don't really feel like there's a whole lot of other options, to be honest. I mean, episode 3 and 4 really focus on him and how he is understanding and using the system to level himself up. So I really feel like there's only one option. It's our boy Jinwoo. Watch as he becomes OP.
Mike, your waifu of the week.
Yeah, Turtle nailed it. It's Jinwoo for all the reasons he said. I mean, we really don't have any other options here this week. We barely see any other characters besides Jinwoo, so it's Jinwoo.
I'm going to go outside the box and pick the system. Or potentially whoever's pulling the strings on this system. Without the system, our boy Jinwoo is dead. Without the system, we don't have kind of like fun video gamey way to enjoy the plot. The system keeps evolving and guiding Jinwoo, and I think the system seems to really have a stranglehold on his life. Honestly, he's at this point he's almost like a slave to the system. Like with the daily trainings, if he doesn't do those, he's taken to a terrible place, right? So like, the system has a chokehold on Jinwoo's life, and I think it could get crazier going forward. Thank you all for joining us this week as we watch Solo Leveling. We hope you join us next week for episode 57 of the Anime Banter podcast, where we'll watch episodes 5 and 6 of Solo Leveling. Please give us a 5-star review on all platforms that allow reviews. If you're listening on YouTube, please like the video, hit the notification bell, and leave a comment. The Anime Banter podcast can be found on Facebook, X, Instagram, and YouTube. Thank you all for joining, and we'll talk to you next week.